Picture this. You wake up, grab your phone, and see another bad headline. Nothing that makes you stop everything, just another one. Another conflict. Another crisis. Another thing going wrong. You sigh and go on with your day. Work, school, traffic, bills to pay. Everything seems normal. But deep down, it feels like normal is getting heavier and heavier. There's an ancient text, the book of Revelation, written by John of Patmos, that describes something interesting. The end, not as a sudden event, but as a sequence, like a domino effect. One thing leads to another until everything changes. Now, you can see it as symbolic, or you can look at it and think, what if this is actually a description of how something like this would really happen? According to that logic, the beginning wouldn't be obvious. It would be like rising prices at the grocery store. One day rice goes up, then gas, then rent. Nothing breaks the system, but everything starts to tighten. Or that feeling of insecurity. It's not total chaos, but you start avoiding certain places. You start going home earlier. You start paying more attention. All of this has an explanation. And that's exactly why no one sees it as the beginning of something bigger. The text organizes this into stages called seals. Each seal opened represents a new phase, and the first four are the most well-known. They're described as 4 horsemen, but what matters is what they represent. It's the rise of power. It could be a country gaining influence, a technology taking over, or systems controlling more and more of people's lives. Conflicts begin to spread. It doesn't have to be a world war. It can be multiple smaller conflicts, but constant. Now it starts affecting everyday life. People working more to have less. Basic things becoming harder to afford. And this is the consequence. Notice how this doesn't feel like a supernatural event. It feels like a process. After that, the text talks about something called the Great Tribulation. It's when suffering stops being occasional and becomes the norm. Systems start to fail, conflicts increase, and fear becomes part of daily life. And here's an important part many people ignore: persecution. It's not necessarily people being hunted in the streets like in movies. It can be more subtle and more realistic. People pressured because of their beliefs, like when someone stops saying what they really think to avoid trouble, or when going along with a crowd is easier than questioning. The difference is, in that scenario, it stops being a choice and becomes survival. And it's exactly at this point that the text moves into something more uncomfortable. It doesn't just describe chaos, it describes a solution. In Revelation, a figure appears known as the beast. And in other parts of the Bible, like 2 Thessalonians, it's also called the man of lawlessness. Today, many people refer to this as the antichrist. When people think about the antichrist, they imagine someone obviously evil, like a movie villain. But the text never describes him that way. He doesn't show up spreading fear. He shows up solving problems. Think about the scenario we've built so far. Now imagine living in that for months or years. It's in that kind of world that strong leaders rise. This isn't new. History has shown this many times. Moments of extreme crisis almost always open space for figures who promise total order. And at first, they work. They organize things, they stabilize things, they bring relief. In that scenario, the Antichrist wouldn't need to look like a tyrant. He could be charismatic, intelligent, articulate. Like that person who walks into a room, and within minutes, everyone is listening. The text doesn't show a world suddenly deceived. It shows a world being guided. After all this sequence, the text reaches its final point: judgment. This is no longer about crisis, no longer about systems, no longer about who was in control. It's about choice, because throughout all of this, each person was making decisions. Some resisted, others adapted, and many accepted it. In the book of Revelation, this is represented by the so-called mark of the beast. More than something physical, it's a symbol of alignment, of choice. And then comes the moment when there's no turning back. The text describes that those who fully align themselves with the system share in its fate, an ending separated, distant, no return.